Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of Propagation of Flowers Part 2. So in this session we are going to study about one more flower, that is canna. Canna is also one of the very beautiful flower. So how to propagate this flower we are going to study in this session. So in the family Cannaceae there is only one genus, that is canna, and within this small group a mere 10 species of the flowering perennials are found. So this is one of the perennial flower and it belongs to the family Cannaceae. And this Cannaceae is having just one genus, that is canna. Within this small group, it is having 10 species of the flowering perennial. So it is a perennial plant. They are closely related to other tropicals such as ginger, banana, and the birds of paradise. So, canna is more or less related to ginger plant, banana, or even the birds of paradise. These herbaceous perennials prefer heat and humidity and thrive in many types of soil. In fact, they will tolerate clay and sand like champs. So, for this, clay and sand like soil is preferable. So, this is a herbaceous perennial and that prefer heat and humidity and thrive in many types of soil, right? So, the best suited soil for this canna is clay and sand. Consistent moisture is must for canna. So we have studied about the gladiolus, that this is one of the requirement of the gladiolus, that good amount of availability of water, right? Soil temperature should be less. So again, this consistent moisture availability for canna is the essential term. In fact, it's possible to include some of them in or near a water feature or a boggy areas of the garden. So if your garden is having some boggy areas, then we can grow this canna to that area, because this boggy area or the water feature area is having a lot of water and this makes the soil continuously moistened. So here you can see this canna flower, right? So these plants are characterized by their rhizomatous roots. So the roots are actually this is the stem and it gives rise to the roots from here, and they are having the large leaves. And uniquely structured bloom. So you can see how beautiful flower is it. It is not only in this red color, but it can be in yellow, orange, and even white color. Unlike many flowers, most species bloom appear to have three large petals, and they that are actually clusters. Adapted stamens are called staminodes. So this is staminodes. Staminodes are sterile actually. The true petals are small and inconspicuous, hidden out of sight by the showy stamens. So they are having three large showy petals, right? But the real petals are hidden. The purple stem, orange inflorescence, and orange, yellow, and burgundy variegated leaves of the canna indica, that is fashion, for example, seems to have come straight from the page of tropical fairy tale. So this is one of the description of the Indian species, that is canna indica, right? And it is having a purple stem. The stem color is purple, orange color of inflorescence, and orange and yellow or burgundy variegated leaves. So this is very unique feature of this particular species of canna. Stalk that hold the leaves and the blossoms are thick and sturdy, often more than an inch in thickness. So they are having a stalk that hold the leaves, that is 1 inch in thickness. They can be brightly colored as well as in tones of green, purple, or even sometimes red. Indigenous to the southern North America. So they are quite indigenous to these North America, Central America, and northern South America. The tuberous come of the Canna indica were used as a food source for the centuries by the indigenous people of the region prior to being discovered by the foreign explorers. So this particular Canna indica tubers are used as a food, right, by the indigenous people. The leaves, blooms, and the starchy root of some species are edible, and these are used in agriculture as well as. Edible canna starch may serve as a substitute for the arrowroot, and they are often fed to the livestock as an inexpensive food source. So they are used as a food source because they are having a lot of starch in it. So sometimes they are fed to the livestock also. In the wild, canna grow in the semi-wetland areas where they spread along the river banks and the lake beds. So if we find this canna, they are growing in the garden. But if we go to the wild, then also we can find these canna that are growing in the semi-wetland areas. Okay, so not are the what are the wetland? Wetlands are the one of the habitat that is having water, right, and it is having deep water, and it is having nutrient flowing from the lower soil also. So this is a lake, pond, right? So all these are the wetland examples of the wetland. So this canna can grow in the semi wetland areas where they spread along the river banks. They can also grow along the river banks and the lake beds. Now we can understand how much water they require for their growth. Somewhat boggy environment is preferred for the species like Canna flaccida, which will tolerate being partially submerged. So sometimes some of the species even grow in the boggy environment. And the one that is Canna flaccida, that can be grown in the partially submerged, means they can have their roots and part of the stem in the water and only the leaves and the floral part above the water. So this is partially submerged. The tubers effectively provide filtration to their planting bed, removing potentially harmful toxin and pollutants. So this is one of the very important, ecologically they are very important, as they remove this pollutant or the toxic material that is present in the water. So this filter out all the potentially harmful toxin material or the pollutant from the water, right, by filtering through its tuber. They can be planted in the wetland areas to purify the substrate. So sometimes you can see this to purify the wetland or to minimize the pollutant level of the wetland. These canna plants are planted all along the wetland, right, because they purify the substrate. In ideal conditions, healthy plant will produce blooms that self-pollinate to produce seed pods. So when the condition is ideal, healthy plant will produce blooms, right? They flower, they get self-pollinated, and they also produce seed pods, means they bear seeds. So the seeds are about 1/4 inch in diameter and hard as a stone with a nearly impenetrable seed coat. So they are having impenetrable seed coat also. So they are having very hard stone like a seed. Even though the canna produce seed, their long history of crossbreeding and hybridization makes the resulting offspring unreliable in reproducing parental characteristics. So this is we are studying about the propagation of canna, how they are propagated. So even though canna can produce seeds, right, there is a long history of crossbreeding and hybridization of this particular plant. Because of this, it's best to begin the propagation with the rhizome division. So it is difficult because it is having this flowering is difficult in the flower? Means they have flower, they bloom the flower, but there is difficult to get hybridized, right? And they are having a very hard stony seeds also. So better to have a rhizome for the propagation of canna. Rhizome is spread by producing offshoots that grow into a new plants. Each offshoot will produce its own root, and so they can easily be separated into individual plantings. So how can we propagate this canna? Rhizome is spread by producing offshoots. Okay, it gives right offshoots, and that can be grow into a new plant. So we can cut off those offshoot, right? And which is having their own root, and they can be planted in a new place. Transplanting of canna can be started with the seeds or rhizome division, and after selection it can be transplanted to the growing site. In region where the temperature remain consistently above 40°F year-round, canna lilies can be planted in the location where they receive at least 6 hours of sunlight and 1 to 2 inches of water per week. So they require a good amount of light as well as the water availability. So water should be 1 to 2 inches water per week they require. So they require good amount of water, and they require good amount of at least 6 hours of sunlight they require. In warmer climates, plant canna lilies in partially shaded areas where the ground is consistently moist. In cooler climates, choose a sunny location where they will receive at least 8 hours of direct light per day. So in the warmer climate, we can have this canna lilies growing in a shady areas where they require a less amount of heat, right? And consistently moist ground should be consistently moist. And if you are growing this canna in a cooler climate, then choose a sunny location that you can grow in a quite sunny location where they receive at least 8 hours of light. Avoid allowing the substrate to dry out by offering 1 to 2 inches of water per week in the absence of rain. So if there is no rain, then we must apply water, that is up to 1 to 2 inches water per week. And container growing will curb unwanted spread of the rhizome. Pruning and maintenance. Typically, it's not necessary to regularly prune most herbaceous species, but in this case, it is an important step to improve the blooming. So, to improve blooming, we can prune this plant. Micropropagation. For micropropagation is also known as a tissue culture. So, in this particular plant, we can have the practice of rapidly multiplying the stock plant material to produce a large number of progeny plant. So by tissue culture technique, we can have a number of plants, and that can be planted in a soil later on. Micropropagation uses in vitro division of small pieces or in a sterile environment where they first produce proliferation of the tissue. So first time they proliferate the tissue and form a callus-like structure, right? Which are then separated into small pieces that are treated differently so that they produce root and a new stem tissue. So these callus can be cut into the pieces and they can be placed in another nutrient medium like this, right? So with applying the different chemicals that produce roots or shoot accordingly. The step in the process are regulated by the different ratios of plant growth regulators. So we are having different regulators that can allow the growth of roots or shoot accordingly. Many commercial organizations have produced canna in this way, and especially the Island series of canna was introduced by the means of mass-produced plants using this technique. So, micropropagation technique has been used okay, to have a commercial grow of this particular plant. However, cannas have a reputation for being difficult micro propagation condition. So this is all about this session. We have completed gladiolus and canna. Okay, thank you so much.